A faded parchment lies buried beneath the floorboards of an ancient London manor, untouched for over 400 years. In 1616, a simple grain merchant from Stratford-upon-Avon passed away without leaving behind a single handwritten page of poetry, letter, or manuscript. Yet history insists this illiterate businessman wrote the world's greatest literature. What if the immortal bard never truly existed as we know him? When William Shakespeare died, his final will and testament listed every household item down to his second-best bed and wooden bowls. Mysteriously, there was no mention of books, plays, unpublished manuscripts, or literary rights. In Elizabethan England, a writer's library was his most valuable asset, yet Shakespeare owned none. This glaring omission raises disturbing questions that mainstream historians have struggled to answer for centuries. To understand the magnitude of this historical mystery, we must examine the 6 known signatures of the famous author. Each signature appears shaky, strangely spelled, and utterly unaccustomed to handling a quill pen. Modern forensic handwriting analysts suggest these marks belong to a man who barely knew how to write his own name, let alone compose thousands of complex poetic lines in perfect iambic pentameter. Stratford-upon-Avon was a tiny, isolated agricultural village where illiteracy reached nearly 80% among common citizens. Neither of Shakespeare's daughters could read or write, a baffling fact for the children of England's most brilliant literary mind. How could an uneducated rustic acquire a vocabulary of over 20,000 words, double that of the scholar John Milton, without attending university or traveling abroad? The plays demonstrate an intimate, expert knowledge of aristocratic life, royal court etiquette, legal jargon, and foreign geography. The author knew the precise street names of Venice, the inner workings of Italian courts, and falconry terms used exclusively by high nobility. Yet the man from Stratford never stepped foot outside England, nor did he ever mingle with the royal court during his early formational years. In November 1593, the poet official records reveal a shadowy figure operating within London's theatrical underbelly. Money flowed through mysterious channels, funding lavish productions while keeping the true author concealed behind a front man. William Shakespeare of Stratford was paid handsomely, but not for writing plays. He was hired to act as the public straw man, protecting a highborn noble whose identity meant social ruin. During the Elizabethan era, noblemen were strictly forbidden from writing commercial plays for public theaters. To author public dramas was considered a scandalous degradation of status that could result in banishment from the royal court. Therefore, if an aristocrat wrote brilliant plays, he desperately required a cover identity, a living puppet who could collect royalties and take public credit while staying silent in the shadows. Enter the first prime suspect, Sir Francis Bacon, the genius philosopher, statesman, and master cryptographer. Bacon possessed the vast library, legal expertise, and deep philosophical mind displayed throughout the plays. Skeptics point to intricate visual ciphers and hidden codes embedded within the original First Folio of 1623, suggesting Bacon hid his real name across the printed pages like secret signatures waiting for discovery. Scholars studying the First Folio discovered an astonishing word in Love's Labours Lost, honorificabilitudinitatibus. When decoded using Elizabethan numerical ciphers, this 27-letter monster rearranges into a Latin anagram. These plays, offspring of F. Bacon, are preserved for the world. Coincidence or calculated proof? As cryptographers delved deeper, they found dozens of hidden signatures woven into the original formatting of the text. The second suspect presents an even more sensational story: Christopher Marlowe, the wild spy and master playwright. Official court documents claim Marlowe was killed in a bloody tavern brawl over a dinner bill in 1593 at age 29. But secret intelligence records suggest his death was staged by Queen Elizabeth's spymaster to help Marlowe escape execution for dangerous political heresy. Instead of dying in that dimly lit room in Deptford, Marlowe was smuggled across the English Channel to exile in Italy. From distant foreign cities, he continued writing brilliant plays and sent them back to London via diplomatic pouches. The timing is uncanny. Shakespeare's name suddenly appeared on published works for the exact first time just weeks after Marlowe's mysterious official death. The third and most compelling candidate is Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. De Vere was a brilliant court poet, heavily educated, traveled extensively across Italy, and maintained a private theater company. His personal letters reveal striking biographical parallels to Hamlet, including being attacked by pirates in the English Channel and dealing with an overbearing father-in-law virtually identical to Polonius. When Edward de Vere died in 1604, publication of new Shakespeare plays abruptly halted for several years. Furthermore, Sonnet 77 refers to the author as being dead long before 1616, when the man from Stratford passed away. Why would the sonnets speak of the author's death while Shakespeare of Stratford was still actively walking the streets of his hometown alive? Consider the curious case of the Stratford monument built in the local church after Shakespeare died. Early engravings from 1656 show the statue holding a sack of grain, reflecting his true career as a wealthy corn trader. Decades later, the monument was surreptitiously altered. The grain sack was removed and replaced with a pillow, paper, and a quill pen to fit the myth. Why would a massive historical cover-up be executed across generations? The answer lies in political power and royal propaganda. The plays contained explosive political commentary, subtle attacks on rivals, and dangerous royal secrets. Having these works attributed to an uneducated, deceased actor from a small village neutralized any potential scandal, insulating the crown and noble families from public outrage or political rebellion. Emerging evidence suggests Shakespeare was not a single author at all, but rather a secret collective of brilliant Elizabethan minds. Known among royal insiders as the Syndicate, this elite group included Oxford, Bacon, Pembroke, and Mary Sidney. They pooled their immense talents, legal minds, and philosophical insights to create a masterpiece library, using the actor Shakespeare as their shared frontman and publisher. Mary Sidney, the Countess of Pembroke, was one of the most educated women of her era, translating classical literature and hosting literary salons at Wilton House. Female writers were strictly forbidden from publishing commercial plays under their own names. By channeling her brilliant poetry through Shakespeare, she gave voice to timeless female characters like Rosalind, Beatrice, and Lady Macbeth without breaking societal taboos. In 1611, a mysterious fire destroyed the original Globe Theatre, consuming manuscript archives, costume inventories, and personal papers. Many historians believe this fire was no accident, but a deliberate act of arson designed to destroy paper trails linking the noble syndicate to the stage. When the ashes settled, the truth behind the immortal bard's true authorship was lost to time forever. When the first folio was finally published in 1623, 7 years after the Stratford merchant died, it included 36 plays, 18 of which had never been printed before. Ben Jonson, a prominent playwright who knew the secret, wrote a double-edged introductory poem praising Shakespeare, filled with subtle puns and ironic clues that tipped off observant readers that the author was a ghost persona. Jonson famously wrote that the author had small Latin and less Greek, a subtle insult aimed at the uneducated Stratford merchant, while simultaneously dedicating the volume to the Earl of Pembroke. The engraved portrait on the cover, created by Droeshout, shows a bizarre mask-like face with a visible line along the jawline and 2 left arms, visually signaling to the reader that this portrait represents a false facade. In the 1900s, radar imaging and digital analysis of the original first folio pages revealed hidden watermarks and microscopic cryptographic grids. These findings suggest that the printers intentionally altered letter spacing, line breaks, and page numbers to embed complex mathematical codes. Who possessed the wealth and technical knowledge to orchestrate such elaborate printing tricks if not a powerful state-backed secret society? When modern researchers requested permission to open the grave of William Shakespeare in Stratford-upon-Avon using non-invasive ground-penetrating radar, church authorities repeatedly refused. A famous curse carved onto his tombstone warns anyone who moves his bones. Is this ominous warning a superstitious protection, or was it placed there to stop future generations from discovering that the grave contains no literary manuscripts or body at all? Piece by piece, the romantic fairy tale of the uneducated country boy who became humanity's greatest genius crumbles under rigorous historical scrutiny. The real author was not a lonely grain trader hiding in rural Warwickshire, but a hidden alliance of visionary aristocrats who sacrificed their personal fame to gift mankind the ultimate literary canon. They created an immortal myth to preserve dangerous truth. As light fades over the ruins of the old Globe Theatre, the words themselves remain immortal, echoing across centuries regardless of who held the quill. Whether written by a disguised earl, a rogue spy, or a secret aristocratic collective, the genius lives on in every line. The true identity of Shakespeare may be history's greatest hidden conspiracy, but the real mystery is just beginning.